Owl Nation! What is going on, Owl Nation? Welcome into another episode here on the Night Owls podcast. I am your host, JJ Metz, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Hudson Friedman, right before Hate Week. Hudson, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing good, JJ, and this week it seems pretty good. I mean, as you mentioned, Hate Week. This could be better than Ohio State, Michigan this week. I mean, there's a lot of animosity going on Twitter between FAU and USF, so I'm excited to cover it.
Yeah, and speaking of the animosity on Twitter, let's pull up this first post by USF Bulls fan here. This is what he said, Hudson. Hudson, what do you see in this post here, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, here I see some like stereotypical FAU kind of name calling here, kind of propaganda. What they're trying to say here is that a lot of the students that go to FAU, I guess, are from New York, New Jersey. Which me personally, I'm from New Jersey. This fellow looks like someone that I know from the Jersey Shore. But I mean, it says you have the NJ birth certificate, they have the 1.2 GPA. But JJ, this doesn't go just for FAU. This goes for a lot of Boca, and that is where FAU is. But I think that this is kind of a reach. I mean, this doesn't really have anything to do with football, does it? These are like the fans supporting the team. And if I know the folks from New Jersey very well and from the Jersey Shore, they are very rowdy, and they will show up to this USF game in Tampa and put on a great show for the FAU Owls. But this has nothing to do with football. And if this is what USF is going to point out, then I don't think they're going to be a very good football team.
Yeah, I agree, but I think the point it is supposed to have nothing to do with football. And then an FAU fan responded to that with this, and he said he fixed it. What do you see in this post? Does this sound more real than the FAU post?
Well, it seems like USF loves moral victories more than actual wins. I know a lot of teams like that, but if you're getting more moral victories than actual wins, then your team is saying that, oh, well, we're going to be better, but you're actually not getting better. And if that's exactly true for USF, it seems like that USF is not getting better. They're just taking moral victories. But let's see, right here, 2007 Big East champions. So it seems like that USF is still riding off of that 2007 Big East championship. If you're still riding off of 2007, you're not living in the present like right now. I mean, it's pretty bad for a team, to be honest with you, JJ.
Yeah, and we'll go over some of the other bullets. UCF rejection letter showing that they didn't get into UCF, so they had to choose USF. They also believe that Raymond James counts as a real college stadium. They can't even fill up 15% of that stadium. It's sad. I feel very bad. You have to drive 30 minutes from there. Who would want to go to that poverty school? Then you say your school's up and coming after 6 years, and usually I keep it respectful, but I can't keep it respectful with Little Bro University, and I refuse to say their name. Last time we saw FAU go into Tampa to play USF, FAU won by 42 points in 2023. So I am excited for this week's game. But let's go over to one of the things that we saw from the USF versus FAU game last time, and this was a very interesting one, and it's been all over social media. It's been something that fans have been looking at forever now, and I want to ask you your thoughts on it as we get it pulled up right here momentarily. So this is what happened after last year's game, FAU versus USF. I have it pulled up. Hudson, you can see it. Let's react to it. So this is post game. Like when the coaches do their handshake and stuff. And this is what happened.
South Florida trailed at the half. They end up scoring the game's final 30 points. They run for more than 300 yards. The defense ties a school record with 7 sacks. And Tom Herman and Alex Golish getting into it as they're coming off the field.
That is the definition of a rivalry right there.
Yeah, that's a rivalry, folks. South Florida.
I mean, hey, JJ, to be honest with you, if a team like FAU comes into my building and gives an absolute beating, 44-21 to me. I mean, I would be just as salty, to be honest with you. But it seems like Alex Golesh was not too happy, as I just said. And former FAU coach Tom Herman, it seems like he was trying to be all respectful, but Golesh did not like it. And it just seems like the type of rivalry that you want, which is good because it brings kind of the big game feel to this game. And it almost shows that if you look at rivalries, let's bring in like Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan is actually on a streak against Ohio State, even when Ohio State has been the better team. So with USF being the slightly better team, it almost shows that FAU could possibly shock USF at home once again.
Yeah, Hudson, 100%. I think the main part of that was to show that, Alex Golesh wasn't a good sport. He wouldn't shake Tom Herman's hand. And that's not very respectful, noting that these two guys are in the same conference, they're in the same state, and they don't have respect for each other. So hopefully Zach Kitley and Golesh can have the respect. Last meme I want to pull up, or maybe we'll do one more. This has been going all around social media from the FAU fans. This is where South Florida is in the state of Florida. To me, that doesn't look like it's south. It looks like it's in northwest Florida. Hudson, do you have any idea why they're called South Florida? I think it's a joke at this point. I don't know why we should call them that.
Yeah, seeing FAU here, we call them the North Florida Cows. If you look at that logo looks like a cow. It doesn't look like a bull to me. So if we're going to do some name calling and whatnot, they're the North Florida Cows. If anything, Florida is the USF because they are more south than the USF. I mean, you look at JJ, do you have a map of where FAU is, or at least pinpoint where FAU is on the map? I mean, they're almost at the bottom of Florida. Yeah, right around there. I mean, it acts like you're going north to go to USF as a team. That's pretty bad.
You're going 4 hours northwest, not just
sounds
north.
like USF lost the naming rights to UNF, University of North Florida. And it seems like they had to settle for USF, which just even proves the point further that USF is not the most popular university to go to say the least.
Oh, 100% not, especially when you have an off-campus stadium and, your school hasn't been that good the last few years. So 100% agree with you with that. I want to ask you here, do you think all this banter is good for the sport, or do you think that these fans need to chill a little bit?
I mean, I think this banter is great. This is actually like great energy. FAU, a team that's 3-3, 500, coming off of a big loss against a big win, against UAB, trying to get back on the right track. I think it's great momentum for a team. The players see that the fans are getting involved in this rivalry, that the players are playing in the game. It hypes both teams, both squads up to want and go out there and be the better team, go out and put everything on the line, put the bodies on the line because the fans are getting involved, because the rivalry shows so much more than just inside the locker room. I think it's great for the sport. Now, if you talk about, let's say, more like morally, is it right in a sense that if a team gets like physical with a fan, maybe at the stadium, then no, maybe it gets out of hand. But I think online banter is actually the best way to promote and hype up a game for not only the fans, but even the players.
100% agree with you. So we got into some of the fan talk. We're going to get into the roster preview. This is not by any means our in-depth preview. I will be back with Blake tomorrow with a big USF guest. Stay tuned for that. And then hopefully we'll see Hudson again later in the week. But Hudson, let's get into some of the stars on this USF team. Who does this FAU defense have to know from the USF offense, and who are some of the key guys that we should keep an eye out on?
Well, JJ, I think without saying anything, it has to be Byron Brown. I mean, this kid is so electric. He could throw the ball, he could run the ball. He's a dual threat quarterback at its finest. And honestly, I think that USF can either choose to run or pass against this FAU defense. And honestly, I think that Byron Brown is going to be the player that they're going to have to watch film on, honestly. He's going to be the player that they have to bottle up, even at the quarterback position.
Yeah, of course, you obviously want to look for the quarterback. And, not only can Byron Brown do it through the air, he can escape the pocket, use his mobility and dual threat ability, and get key yardage for them on the perimeter, as he gets outside. But, other than the quarterback, who should FAU be looking out for?
FAU would have to also look out for Keyshawn Singleton. He's a great receiver, not the number one receiver that Byron Brown would look for, but he's electric. He's got 294 yards in the season, 3 touchdowns, and 17 receptions. I think he's a great receiver, especially if USF is looking out for a guy like Chaz Nimrod, who is USF's number one receiver, who has 466 yards on the season, 3 touchdowns, 23 receptions. I think USF is going to be able to hit their second man guy, which is Keyshawn Singleton.
Yeah, I agree. And, Jeremiah Cougar as well has been pretty solid for them in the receiver room as well. But, when it comes to these receivers, they're more of dig guys over the middle. And that's very important for the linebackers for FAU. Not only is it just that, we have to watch Byron Brown escape the pocket. And that's also going to be up to the linebackers to stop him. So FAU's linebackers, Tyler Stoltze, Leon Hart, Charquez Lee, the list goes on, Robert Lee. Do you think that these FAU linebackers can contain some of these dig routes over the middle? Because all Maryland did was against FAU was dig routes to Dorian Fleming, and we couldn't stop it at any part. So is anything going to change, do you think?
I think it's going to come down to the film room, right? The defensive coordinator, that job of how to beat that coverage comes down to Coach Dewhurst, the defensive coordinator. I think that it's honestly could come down to who can watch film better, and if FAU can be able to identify when they're going to throw those checkdowns, when to throw those screen passes, and get into the right coverage, I think FAU will be able to stop it pretty easily.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And it's really going to be up to these, stout linebackers that have been good for FAU. Front seven for FAU, there were some injuries. Bryce Langston went down. Derek Rogers went down in the secondary. But if Bryce Langston and CJ Doggett and Wilkie Denard and Sledge, Najon Barber, if they can cause pressure, and I'll throw in Deshaun Batiste in there because he had a couple sacks last game. If they can get pressure off of Byron Brown and make it to the point where he has to throw the football and not run, because he's rushing for 150 yards each game. By no means is he a bad thrower, but I think that the game plan is to put pressure on the outside, is to get those edge rushers really being able to get after him and pressure him, because you can't have Byron Brown go outside. There's no stopping him from that. His speed is so hard to stop, and it's hard to tackle him. He's a big guy. He's built like an NFL quarterback. So we talked about this USF offense versus FAU defense. Let's get a quick snippet of what you think FAU has to do against USF's defense. Do you think they're primarily going to run the football like last week, go to Caden Shields-Dutton? We're going to see Xavier Terrell back. We're going to see Jamari Sands get more touches. Or is Caden Velkamp going to be forced to stay in the pocket, keep his composure, and hit his receivers in stride?
Well, listen, I think Caden Shields-Dutton is absolutely brilliant, especially when he had to step up in the big role last week against UAB. I think he is the spark that this FAU offense needs and wants to go against this big defensive front of USF. And I think, honestly, they could get Xavier Terrell maybe moved in the offense and possibly – but I think Caden Shields-Dutton, if he doesn't get stopped early, if the offensive line wins the battle in the trenches, I think he's going to be the guy to go to. And don't be surprised if Zach Kittley wants to call his name.
Yeah, 100%. I think, FAU's most likely going to be down early just because it's a 22-point spread. USF's more talented. I think Caden Velkamp's going to be forced to throw the football because USF is very good at stopping the run. And guys, we will get way more in depth tomorrow in tomorrow's preview with their run percentage stopping, where they rank in defensive run game. But just overall, they're good at stopping the run. And that's to the point where Caden Velkamp has to use the fact that he's such a good passer and he has such elite weapons in Easton Messer and Jay-Sean Platt and Assad Wasim. These guys, they can exploit this USF secondary. So I want to ask you this, Hudson. FAU 3-3 back-to-back wins, going into a top 20 team on national television on ESPN. Is this the biggest game in FAU program history? Because I think it is.
I totally agree. I mean, you're at a team like FAU who's at the 500 bump. Honestly, for a lot of college football teams, even in the NFL, it's the battle of getting over 500. And once you get over that 500 hump, it feels like you could conquer the world. Once you finally get to that 4-3, 3-2, 2-1, over that 500 hump, it just feels so good that you have a winning record up to that point. And honestly, it makes it even sweeter if you do it against a number 19th ranked team in the land, as USF is, especially against this very talented team. Some may even critically acclaim that USF should be ranked higher than the 19th spot. And if FAU could do it at 3-3, almost down in the mud, I mean, JJ, just a few weeks ago, we were calling for Zach Kitley's job. We were even calling for should Kagan Belkamp be benched for Zach Gibson. I think if they pull it off, FAU's feeling great. The momentum is sky high. They're at 4-3. Bowl game could happen. And then, as you mentioned, maybe a 1% chance of the CFP, but those dreams could be still alive after beating USF. So if they pull this win off in the biggest game in program history, I think that FAU would get the momentum. And I think, yes, this is the biggest game in program history with the stakes, with the team that they're playing, the 19th, and the media coverage. If you bring it all together and round it up, this is the biggest game in FAU history.
Well, Hudson, by no means I calling for Zach Kelly's job. I was more so saying it's time for a change. I was criticizing the decisions that he was going for it on fourth down. Give the guy time. We were both saying you have to give him 3 years, at least 3 years, because you got to give the guy some time to build a program. And next year's conference schedule is just released. There's no Memphis on that schedule. There's no Tulane on that schedule. FAU could run the table in the American in year 2 under Zach Kelly. I'm that confident with it once he gets his guys in. But you got to sustain this program. You got to give the guy some time. It's year 1. That by no means, if he loses every single game, he's keeping his job next year. Hudson, let's talk a little bit about some of the questions the fans have been asking me on Twitter. We've had a bunch of replies, a bunch of posts. So if we don't get to every single reply, please be patient. We'll get to you in a future episode. But we do have a lot of replies here on the show. Sorry, wrong graphic there, guys. Let's get into this first tweet that I had made here, which was I was just talking about the big opportunity that FAU has this week to go into ranked USF and pull off the upset. And here is what some of the replies say. The title race, my guy, WUT. Hudson, you can kind of explain this. How can FAU make the title in the American Conference?
Yeah, so FAU, if they could win out their schedule, and that obviously means beating USF and a couple tough teams down the road, obviously like Tulane. It's not the easiest thing in the world. It could get done if FAU has a power surge, and then they just need North Texas to lose just one game, and all of a sudden, this team from Boca, the FAU Owls, find themselves in the American Conference Championship. And if they win the American Conference, they are in the CFP.
Yeah, they are. The American Conference champion will be in the college football playoffs for sure. We got some more. Love the optimism. Good fan. Admire the enthusiasm. Oh, this is a good one. But I don't think you can gog FAU based on beating a team that has quit on their coach, just like last year with Tulsa. What do you think about that comment from Wise Owl?
Well, hey, I don't think. I mean, yes, they quit on their coach. Yes, they quit on him, but the players still couldn't be that impacted. The players were still playing on the field. And FAU obviously was the better team that day. I mean, honestly, if you think of like maybe if FAU won by what 7, maybe 10 is a stretch, then maybe you could say it was a coach. But FAU absolutely obliterated them, even without looking at the box score. It just seemed like FAU was in control. It was almost like when was FAU get cruised away, and they cruised away pretty early in that game. I don't think that was a coaching error or just abandoning the coach. I think it was just realistically, honestly, just FAU being the better team.
And then Swin FL Hudson, give us your thoughts on this one.
Well, thank you for applauding the enthusiasm, but honestly,
He's saying USF could put up 100.
I mean, I don't think they're putting up 100, to be honest with you. I think FAU has a better defense if people want to give them credit. But they're gonna have to step up, and they cannot make mistakes. A team like USF, who's ranked top 20 in the country, if you make a mistake, they're gonna make you pay. If you leave, give them inside leverage, and they want the outside, they're gonna take that outside leverage pretty easily. Get it open on the slant. Those small checkdowns, you cannot let that happen. When you see that checkdown happening and developing, you have to crash it. You cannot let those small mistakes beat you. You can't let those slow, methodical, run first drives. You got to take the ball and put it into Byron Brown's hands. I think if they do that, not only will they not score 100, not only will they not score maybe even 30, but FAU could actually win depending on how good their offense plays.
They can win for sure. Let's get to this one from Awesome Sauce. Look, or you can read that one.
It says, look, I applaud your fandom, but FAU has no shot. My Tigers hung 55 on FAU in your house. I expect USF to do the same. Plus, I want game day in Memphis in 2 weeks, so I need the Bulls to roll.
Well,
To
it was
be
a
honest with
5-point
you,
game with 10 minutes left. Go ahead, Hudson.
I was just going to make that point. That is a box score warrior, box score merchant right there. If you're just watching the box score, yes, it looks like FAU got dominated. But to your point, JJ, that you were just about to make, FAU was hanging in that game. They were actually leading at halftime. And that doesn't seem like obliteration. If you win a half, that's a pretty good football team to keep up with those Memphis Tigers. And if you want college game day, your Tigers are going to have to earn it. And USF, I don't know. I think USF could be playing a potential track in. But back to the point with the Memphis hanging 55. It only came in the fourth quarter, and that was really when the game was just getting out of hand. Really, both offenses weren't doing anything until Memphis found the run game working, and they found the holes against a very tired FAU defense. But up until that point, FAU was hanging the game. They were looking like a top team in not only in the American, but even in the country against the Memphis Tigers, as they are nationally ranked now. But I mean, hey, Memphis could possibly get college game day, and that would be pretty cool to get an American team representing college game day.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, Hudson. Another one here from the Hackster. Does Golish take the Penn State job now, or he waits till after y'all get blown out in the first round of CFP? This is replying to my USF post.
I don't think USF is even going to make the CFP. If he's implying that USF is possibly going to make the CFP, I think Memphis will probably win the American, honestly, if there's no other competition. Because if you look on paper, it seems like Memphis is the better team. But I don't think Golish is really focused on taking the Penn State job, honestly. If he's focusing on taking the Penn State job with still a full season and, as you mentioned, a potential CFP playoff berth with an American Conference Championship win, he is not the right fit for the job if he's already thinking that far ahead, because coaches can't have short-term memory and they can't think that far into the future. They have to play into the present. At least good coaches have to. So if he's thinking that far in advance, not only should Penn State not want him, but he's definitely not the right coach for that job.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. I also brought up a point here that, the last time Zach Kittley, who faced Todd Orlando, the defensive coordinator for USF, Zach Kittley's offense put up 52 points against the Todd Orlando defense. And Todd Orlando was actually the defensive coordinator at FAU in 2023. So Todd Orlando has ties to FAU as the defensive coordinator. Now Todd Orlando is at the University of South Florida. And here are some of the comments we have. Corn Dog, Calm Dog. So I should take the 21.5 points. What do you think here, Hudson? You're not making your prediction, but should he be getting on that 21.5 points?
Nope, I think FAU covers easily.
So
I
you think
think
that FAU easily covers? Would you
very
take
easily. I don't think
how much to be safe would you buy that down to? Because you could buy down odds to like 10.5 and still get better money line. You get better odds. You could buy the spread down for better odds. How
I
much
would
are
say 10.5 is a very easy bet. Maybe throw like a quick 15 on there, parlay it with another bet. I think that's a pretty. I mean, obviously you're gonna get great odds out of it, right? But it could happen, right, JJ? I mean, like now here's not to say that FAU is gonna win this game, but I don't think they're gonna get blown out. I mean, come on.
Yeah, 100%. Um, Hear from Wise Owl again. Saying the wild card is USF and former FAU DC Todd Orlando. What are your thoughts on this comment?
Well, who doesn't like games where someone from one team goes to another? Actually, I just saw a game kind of connecting it back to the NFL here, where Rico Dowdle went against my Cowboys, and he absolutely tore us up. Coming from the Dallas Cowboys, obviously to the Carolina Panthers, and it just makes a player, a coach, anybody want to just win that game even more. And if it is true for both teams, I think they'll be pretty riled up. I think that this FAU offense should be pretty riled up to play Todd Orlando. I think Todd Orlando would be pretty riled up to play this FAU offense.
100% agree with you there. Chris Wang here coming in. Um, so you're taking straight bets with no points, or are you giving USF some points? Because if so, name your amount. Ooh, Hudson. Are we gonna make a wager there? What do you want to go with this Chris Warren guy on the 21?
Hey, I mean, I would say put your money where your mouth is, right? I mean, I always like to say that. I don't like to be all bark, no bite. And I, I think I think I would take points for USF. I mean, obviously, 10.5 is a pretty good bet, as I just previously mentioned. Um,
So
I like
you're saying USF outright money line, but points for the 21.5.
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. I see that. Um, we'll give our official predictions when we go more in depth there. But let's see. Um, let's go to let's see. Um, yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. If there's any other comments that you had seen that are worth talking about, Dusty May, fake Dusty May, hopping in there. But look, I just love this. I love the hate. It's not like hate like that. I love the banter, the rivalry. I think it's so good for this sport. It's so good for the G5. Um, is this the best rivalry in the group of five?
Uh in that group of five, I mean, listen, with everything building up and what's at stake right now, this game is huge. Now, you go and say, is it the biggest rivalry in the G5? Possibly. It could be. Now, if FAU knocks USF off, it could be no question. But right now, I think it could be with what's at stake for both teams. Obviously, if USF loses this game, you can almost count the season almost as over, or you can almost count it like, whoa, how real is USF, right? And then if FAU wins, it's like, wait a second, how good is this Owls team, right? Um, but listen, this rivalry is great. I don't want to discredit any other rivalries because obviously every rivalry is unique in itself. But this is a pretty great rivalry.
Yeah, 100%. As we can see here, um, this is the Bulls emoji. They're like the horns up. They're like Texas. They copy Texas. FAU fans going horns down, baby. We could see that clearly from this USF Bulls guy. This USF Bulls guy, he's been going off on FAU this whole week. So another one there. I just love this. I love replying to these guys. I love the banter. We will continue to represent FAU loud and proud. Hudson, I want to see some of your USF replies over on the X. The more X people we have for FAU, the better it is. And I'm so excited to walk into Raymond James and pull off the upset. Hudson, we hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much for coming on. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Don't be surprised with the fight that these Owls give the USF Bulls. It's going to be a pretty tough win, as this FAU team is pretty scrappy and could beat any team on any given day. They'll hang in this game.
They will indeed. We appreciate you all tuning in. Hit that sub button, like this video. We'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go out.